Alright guys, so in the past we have done some reaction videos to some of my early real estate videos, what I've learned from them, what I would do differently now, etc. But I thought it'd be fun today to react to some of the videos that I learned from currently and draw inspiration from and do the same thing. So we'll watch it, I'll go over some how-tos on how they pulled off some of the shots that I really like and how you can implement that into your own workflow as a real estate videographer. So I hope this video is fun and helpful for you. Now, let's get into it. All right, so today we are going to be checking out this video that I have not watched yet from Architectural Digest from their series called Unique Spaces, and this one is called Inside a Mansion Built on the Edge of an Abandoned Quarry. It's got a ton of views, so it's probably pretty cool, and based on their thumbnail and title, it looks super high quality and like something that I would love to shoot. So let's check it out. First shot looks really epic.
I wanted to make sure that the materials, the palette, the character of the house was responsive to the site. It's not often that you're building on top of a 40-foot tall stone wall. Hi, I'm Stephen Harris. I am the architect of the Bedford Quarry House. It is within an hour of New York, but it feels like you could be in Montana.
Nice, smooth, cinematic shots.
This was a functioning quarry, feldspar, rose quartz, things of that sort. The reason the quarry was abandoned was because they hit water. Many architects prefer working on nice, flat, buildable sites. I'm much more interested in difficult sites. I looked at it as this extraordinary geological opportunity, and the fact that it had so much water in it, and the vegetation and the trees were so beautiful. When the owners found the site, there was a house on it. It was a very different house, and to be charitable, it had had a bit of deferred maintenance. We started over. We worked very hard to figure out how the owner actually lives. It's a young family, and you're figuring out the site, where the light is, where the wind is, how things operate over the course of the day. Almost 50 years ago, the man in the class ahead of mine at Princeton had written a thesis called Psychoanalysis and the Place of Arrival. Was that the process of moving from one condition to another, one can parse and divide into stages, what he referred to as a liminal condition. That was one of the ambitions for this house. Taking from the approach, you see a glimpse of where you're going to go and a piece of the house, a kind of tease, if you will. Then you lose sight of it. The road bends around, it comes up, it rises, you come back around to the back side of the house, and you're in a courtyard. Then there is a stair that takes you down to the main level. Then as you come out onto the terrace, as you approach that edge, you can see the water. It is the space between things. As you approach the house, the one opening in these two walls is where they intersect. That brick wall, conceptually and literally, slides through the building. If you look carefully, you'll see the garage. That's the top of the garage door. It's a single pane garage door based on an airplane hangar. As you can see on both sides, it's glass all the way through here. This is conceptually a void. The stair needed to be figurative. It needed to be something which did not conform to either geometry. As you come down, you begin for the first time to see the other side of the quarry. Terraces out here, all of that. So you have a sense that this is where the main public floor is. In here then is the room where I think they spend the vast majority of their time. Like many younger families, It's got a great kitchen, it's got a dining area, and it has a sitting area. One of two ways in which one talks about building on a sloping site. The two ways you do it are the cave and the promontory. So as we move from one condition to the other, this end of the room is actually cozy, intimate, and then as you move farther in, it begins to reveal itself. You see that promontory up there, you see the little pathway that goes down to the dock, and this is the corner that is cantilevered over the edge. So finally, at this point, you've got the waterfall, you've got the quarry, you've got that incredibly beautiful sheer face, almost like the Palisades on the other side. So in some ways, it's a calibrated sequence of reveal and of arrival. I think it's very important that architecture induce movement. When every single room has the same view, there's really no reason to move. The interiors are relatively muted, and there's subtle little tropes. Like if you look at the lines in those rocks, and you look at the little lines in this rug, there's this kind of reference that occurs there. Obviously, this stone and that wall bear some formal relationship. There's also a little tiny balcony up here off of this side. So if you have some friend who smokes cigars, you know, it's a place where you can stash him. Another thing that we've increasingly done is when you have an open kitchen where everyone is hanging out, I think it's important to have a back kitchen, a part of the kitchen that is out of sight. So looking over that way, you'll see that there is a second sink, a lot of storage. There are dishwashers back there, so you could have a nice meal, all of that, and then put all the aftermath over there and deal with it tomorrow. This can be divided off. You can close off this room more for acoustical reasons than for privacy. This is then the media room, AKA the polka dot room. It also happens to have a model of the house. We are right about here now. So you can see from this that the house is actually two boxes. It's this box, which was the garage that had the garage door that shut. This is the slot that goes through that we came in on. This is then the two-story piece. You can see the topography here and how dramatic this thing drops away. Goes back to Livy. If you read Livy about where the bedrooms go and where the public rooms go at a palazzo, there's a whole passage about how the ground floor is about fortification. The main floor, the piano nobile, where all the public rooms are, the bedrooms are above that. I think subliminally, it has to do with protection. This is in the primary bedroom, which has a not bad view. The waterfall, the quarry, the far side. One of the things we sometimes don't take enough thought to is the kind of rituals of getting up in the morning, getting dressed, going to bed at night, packing a suitcase, all of that. A place to toss your clothes in the evening or to lay out what you're going to wear. This is the primary bathroom, which has two little chapels off of it, one of which is the loo, the other of which is the shower. I hate brushing my teeth and looking at myself in the mirror. And I'd much rather stand here and look at that waterfall as I brush my teeth than stare at myself. Two closets. I bet you that one's his. This is above the fireplace that's in the living room, coming directly up. This is also a sedum roof. It's just coming back from the winter. I think there's something magical about the sound of that waterfall. It eliminates every piece of stray sound you can hear. This is the one place where you could look down into that little courtyard. That's the beginning of a trail that goes around all of the water, comes back the other side, has steps down to the water, the dock, the boat, all of that. As you may know, a lot of ponds have little fountains in them and things like that. That's to aerate the water and to prevent algae growth and things of that sort. In this case, we figured out another way of doing it, or David Kelly did, which was to just pump a little piece of the water up to the top and let it come and fall down as a waterfall. It has the other great advantage of giving a kind of tranquility to out here. We worked from the beginning on this project with David Kelly, who is a landscape architect and a partner in Reese Robertson Partners. And working closely with him, there was an idea about vegetation that might initially appear wild. It is something whose color and its texture, it could have been dug out of the quarry and ground into gravel. So it has that kind of local character to it. This is the continuation of that brick wall that was outside. We chose a brick that was slightly irregular. It's not perfectly flat, and it gives a texture to this wall. There's a skylight that runs the entire length of this brick wall. The children's rooms have window seats. These trees are set here to give a little bit of privacy to these rooms. That's Reese Roberts. They designed these rooms, the furniture, the cool light fixtures. When you're here, there's a sense of stability. You don't feel like you're on top of a mountain or something. There are other things that are about the same height that you are. By stepping this terrace out to follow the profile of the quarry, we were able to lounge here and look at all of that. The dining area over here is probably the one that's the most exposed. I mean, it's the only place that's farther out than that. But, you know, from here, you can actually see the water, the dock, everything. I also think it's nice to look at the house from here. So it's a nice view of the house, I think. A little biased, probably. What we were trying to do was eliminate the boundary between the inside and the outside. We didn't need the window to provide a foreground. We worked very hard for the spaces outside of that, the landscape, to provide that foreground. The idea is that perhaps there are no walls. Perhaps you're outside all the time. One of the things about our choice to locate the pool over there is because we're trying to distribute the amenities and destinations throughout the site. So this is a very different idea about landscape. It may have something to do with a rock in a pool outside of Rio by Niemeyer. When you're looking at all of those things, the quarry, the promontory, all of that, it's difficult to appreciate how beautiful just being in a woodland is and how magical that is. If there were two adjectives for a project that are my greatest ambition, it's for a project to appear effortless and inevitable. If someone comes over to the house, I would prefer that they not be wowed. I would prefer that they not know who the architect is. I would hope that there would be a kind of ease, serenity, comfort. I would love it if they began to notice and realize there's a lot more there than what they can see. I'm sure you've seen films or read books and you want to see it again, or you want to read it again, or you want to hear it again. You know there's more there, you've just seen parts of it.
Well, that was cool. uh, who would like to live there? Definitely me. The architect seemed really cool, and obviously the house was epic as well. So a lot to take from that, a lot to learn from that. The biggest thing was that they had just an insane amount of coverage of all the wide shots, all the details, everything. I loved the shot of him just sitting there talking about how he liked this one spot because it was a good view of, his whole creation. You could take it all in from that one spot. That was my favorite part. So definitely a really cool video, definitely high production value, simple production actually, compared to a lot of real estate stuff, which is something that I'm more drawn to. The way they produce that is something that can last the tale of time, and I think is going to still be relevant in 10, 20 years compared to doing all the real estate trendy stuff. So a few things that I really liked about the video was just, number one, the variety of how they produce stuff. So obviously they did the interview setup with 2 cameras, pretty classic. They had a wide shot and a tighter shot of the architect. So the way to do that, probably shoot with maybe 35, 24 millimeter or something for the wider shot, and then more like a 50 to 70 or 85 for your tighter shot. Main reason to do that is just to have some variety, be able to break up your edit, and also be able to cover up cuts in your edit. So even though this architect seemed really good at talking about his work and all that, I'm sure they used that to cover up some cuts. They used it to make the edit a little bit more interesting and engaging. I think they only used the second shot like once or twice. And that's what I normally do, is hardly ever use it, but sometimes it can spice up your edit a little bit. So I really liked how they had the 2-camera interview, static shot on a tripod, and then they also did the gimbal shot following him around through the whole house, talking about more specific features, more specific rooms, and you could see the room as he's talking about it with him in it. And to get the best colors, it looked like to me, for most of the shots with him in it, they had all the interior lights off, unless it was like a really dark area of the house. So that'll get you daylight color to where all the interior stuff is pretty accurate color-wise, and the person is going to look the most flattering. So I thought that was really great, and definitely something you can apply towards your real estate videos. So lights off once again for the win. And it also looked to me like they had 2 people on the production side of things. So he was always talking to somebody, but it wasn't the camera. So I think they definitely had a wireless mic set up on him, camera person, and then a person off to the side asking him the questions, giving him the prompts, which I think gave it a really good feel, as if you were there, but not as if he was talking directly to the camera, making this himself. Kind of like you're just witnessing him give this tour and talk about it, which I really liked. So aside from that, they had great prompts. Not sure, maybe this guy wrote all of it beforehand, maybe not. But if you're going to make one of these, you got to think about some questions that would incite these types of answers. All of this is stuff that'd be good to go over a little bit in pre-production so that your shoot on site doesn't take forever. So that's what I liked about the A-roll, the person on camera, what they did that was a little bit unique and gave it a lot more variety than most real estate videos that I see. So number 2 is the kind of timeless approach. So they did a lot of drone shots covering every single outside thing that you could possibly think of. They did a lot of static shots of stillness, of details, of natural movement like the waterfall. They did a lot of just simple pans, simple stuff. So the attention was always on the house, the details of the house. And for the interior shots, it was more the POV, as if you were walking through it, experiencing it, which lined up really well with the talking points, because he was talking about the experience, what he wants the experience to be like for people who are at the house, and so on and so forth. So nothing crazy, nothing super trendy, nothing over edited. It all just looked natural. It all felt like a natural experience, as if you were there, looking at stuff, looking around from left to right, walking through an area. As a viewer, it just felt very calm and nice to watch. So I like that. Obviously, there's a time and place for super trendy stuff, crazy transitions, etc. But if you're not incorporating all of the timeless styled shooting, all the trendy stuff can definitely get overblown and get pretty boring and redundant quickly, I think. So gotta be careful. So let's break down the gear needed for this whole shoot. What I would imagine that they had was camera with good dynamic range. Could have been a Sony FX3 or A7S III, or a lot of places like this use like Blackmagic cinema cameras, or what I'm filming on right now is Canon C70 would work really well for this because you get all that dynamic range with the raw footage. So camera, obviously, probably a 16-35 lens, tighter for some of the shots, so 50 plus. So you're going to need at least 2 lenses. You're going to need a good wireless audio setup to hide connected to the person, so you can do the walking and talking shots and keep your audio levels consistent and solid. Film with the lights off as much as possible unless you're in really dark areas or areas where you want to show the lighting as kind of an important feature. So that's what they did in this video, which I really liked. As long as there's a good amount of natural light coming in, this is going to also make your color grading very, very simple and easy. So you're going to need a gimbal. You're going to need a tripod. I'll link the ones that I like down below the video as well. And I'm not sure if they used a light for the interview part. They might have had one just kind of far away, blasting on him to make sure that he has a catch light in his eyes. But the house had so many windows that there could have also just been a window, in front of him, the way they positioned him, letting in enough light to make it look really good and have a catch light in the eyes. So probably good to have a light on hand in case you need it, but it looked like to me they probably just did this with natural light. If you're not sure if the house you're shooting in has a bunch of natural light like this one did, probably good to have a LED directional light in your kit with you, ready to go. And number 3, for the production and workflow, what I would probably do to approach something like this would be do your interview first. That takes the most time. Do the walkthrough parts second. Get some B-roll of the guy in the house. Let him leave, get out of there, done for the day. And then get all the house shots, the land shots, because at that point you would already know the talking points. You would remember some things while you're walking around getting all your supplemental footage, and it's going to help you from like way overshooting. So get all that. Do your drone shots, get tons of drone shots, probably use at least 2 batteries for this, and you're going to be good to go. Such a unique property, but whoever shot this, I think they did a great job covering it very, very well. All right, guys, that's it for this video. So I hope this was valuable for you and you got some good things to take home, take into your own workflow, and learn from like I did. Anyways, if you're new, thanks so much for joining this video. If you're old, you've been around for a while, thanks for the continued support, and as always, I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Peace.